My name is Raheem and I've come here today because what's happening in Syria is wrong. Yeah, whatever happened in France, that was 100% wrong. But then they're doing it 100 times worse in Syria.
Yes, very good.
Innocent children are dying for no reason at all because some men in suits decided to go bomb them.
What would the negotiation with?
Well, I'm asking you. You're the politician.
No, I know.
You're the person in Parliament. You're in the chair. Yeah. You've got to reassure us that there's some end to this, right? And what is that end going to look like? Because at the moment, all it looks like is you're going to rain bombs from the sky, which we know civilians are already dying from bombs from the sky. Read The Guardian today. 5-year-old girl killed this week by a Russian bomb. Yeah.
Yeah,
and we can talk all you want about smart bombs are bombs, right? They don't discriminate. They kill civilians, right? And they create chaos. So out of that, where is the peace going to come from? Who's going to be the government of this region?
In Afghanistan, and you're allowing that to happen. You're allowing these people to die, and you're saying it as if you expect them not to die, but you know they will. How long will it be until it's leaked how many children you have killed? How many people have died at your hands? You're a murderer and you're a spin doctor. You shouldn't represent the people.
You're entitled to your opinion, but I don't agree with you. What would you do about the children and the other people who are being murdered now by
build up
Daesh?
Syrian infrastructure, not drop bombs. Bombing will not solve bombing. It
How
never
do you
will.
build up Syrian
in
infrastructure when there's a civil war going
You know
on?
why some people over there hate the West? When the West, they just drop bombs every single day in these eastern countries, and you allow it, and you wonder why they have these feelings. You wonder why people in your own country have these feelings, when it is you, people who are in the parliament, who decide to go to war. I haven't seen one protester telling you to drop bombs. I've seen thousands of protesters telling you to not drop bombs. How does that mean you represent the public? Who in the public has told you to do that?
I've had, since I made my speech, I've had a number of letters and emails from people who support the stance that I took. And I know there's lots of people who do not support the stance that I took. And we live in a democracy where we can express our view, which we're doing. And hang on, just let me finish.
So it's not a democracy.
And in the end, we are held to account, all right? And that is a democracy.
Excuse me,
I would just say to you
the Iraq war,
that
the Afghanistan war, and the innocent
on the
No,
Afghanistan...
how have you been held accountable? Because you voted yes for both of those as well.
I did, and I have. The people of this constituency have re-elected me, so that's how I'm held to account. All right.
Okay.
Now,
that doesn't mean you're held to account for the innocents that have had their blood spilled because of your decision.
David Cameron.
I do apologise. Very funny. It's not David Cameron.
You know, Jeremy Corbyn said something very poignant. He said, all wars end with a peaceful settlement, a negotiated settlement. Why is a lovely, peaceful man who is trying to bring the country together for jobs, for peace, for housing, against war, against austerity, why have you undermined this gentleman who last night was at Finsbury Park Mosque in solidarity where they'd been firebombed by a racist? Why are you undermining him? The vast majority of the party and the voters of Labour are behind Jeremy Corbyn. That man must be exhausted. That man must be exhausted. Why have you undermined him? I'm so ashamed. I'm so sad and so ashamed.
Right, okay. But what about the people? What about the Kurds?
Indeed,
who are fighting?
Yes, indeed.
Against ISIS.
Should we support
and the Turkish government?
Should we support
are attacking? I think we should support the Kurds' right to independence and the right to self-defence. Absolutely. And I think we should stop supporting. Well, for a start off, we should stop Turkey bombing them, and we should stop Turkey buying oil from ISIS and sending arms to ISIS. And we should also break links with Saudi Arabia, who we know are funding ISIS. Okay. Shouldn't we? They're supposed to be part of our alliance, aren't they? Shouldn't we be breaking with them?
To answer your question about the Kurds are indeed fighting Daesh at the moment, as you know. The Kurds in Syria, the fight around Kobani and other places in that area, and the Kurds who recently retook Sinjar. Now, I quoted in the speech...
What about Turkey? That's the question. Why are we in alliance with Turkey, who are murdering the Kurds? Why? That's my question. Simple.
Turkey are part of NATO. The Turkish government, in the end, is responsible for what they choose to do. But where we are in agreement with a whole host of countries in the region and elsewhere is in opposition to what Daesh is doing. On the question of the Kurds, a very practical consideration is, how were the Kurds able to retake Sinjar, 3 weeks ago? The answer is because they had support from the air alongside their forces on the ground. Now, if your view is we should support the Kurds, then I think it's right that we support them. And we've given some military support to the Kurds in Iraq, and we've also supported them from the air. Now, you may disagree with that. I don't know what your position is in relation to supporting
my
the Kurdish
position
forces.
is independence for Kurdistan.
Yeah, but that doesn't
and the
help
right
for
to
now.
self.
But it doesn't help for now when they're
Well,
fighting
it would help.
Daesh.
It would help them if our allies would stop bombing them, wouldn't it?
Fine, but what would you do to help the Kurds now in their fight against Daesh?
I'd stop the Turkish government bombing them.
What about the Kurds in Iraq? What would you do to help the Kurds in Iraq to fight Daesh?
Well,
What would you
personally,
do?
the first thing I'll do is I'm campaigning here
Yeah.
to stop our government making it any worse than it already is. And who are we in alliance with? Whose side are we on? Where's these 70,000 so-called? Who are we? We know. Even the Sun newspaper knows that it's a myth.
The first thing I would do, and this wouldn't involve any death, I'd go and arrest Tony Blair and get the Americans to arrest George Bush and take them to The Hague for war crimes. That's the first thing I would do. It doesn't involve, if they're innocent, let the justice take its course. And what that would do is massively undermine ISIL. The second thing I'd do is stop selling weapons to all those countries in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, Israel, all those countries are absolutely armed to the teeth. Yeah, we've already seen Turkey blow out a Russian jet from the sky. If that's not up in the States, I don't know what is. But I've got one other thing. So I've got two questions. One about why are you not arresting Blair? The second thing is I have a letter here from 274 academics and students at Leeds University who wrote to you before your decision to bomb Syria. Yeah? 274. Who did you get the authority to vote for bombing? Because in my opinion, the leader of the Labour Party was against it. 70% of the Labour Party membership were against it. The overwhelming majority of the population was against it. And in central,
about that last bit, Steve.
well, in central Leeds, who did you consult? Did you consult any of the 2-3 universities, the 2 hospitals, the churches, the mosques? Who did you consult? Because I don't think you consulted anybody.
With respect to you, Steve, to say, the first thing you said, when I said what should we do about Daesh, I would just say to you that is, I disagree with you on that completely, but that is of no assistance at all, because you're not addressing the issue. You are not
Addressing the cause.
You are not addressing the issue for now, which is what ISIL Daesh are doing, the people they killed in Paris, in Ankara, in Zurich, in Beirut, the Russian tourists who were murdered, the British tourists who were murdered in Tunisia. You're not addressing
But there's
that.
one thing you're not explaining. Where did ISIS come from? Where do these organisations come from? Why do people? What is the motive behind this
came
murder?
from us.
Where's it come from?
Where do you think they come from?
Where
Where do you think they come from?
I think they are created by chaos. They are created by chaos.
Chaos.
Just chaos. Just like the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia came from the blanket bombing of Cambodia. I believe that ISIS has arisen because of the chaos that we've created. Because you've got a strategy for going in, but what's your exit strategy? What is your vision? What is that country going to look like in 5 years' time?
An end to the civil war.
And how will that come?
By negotiation.
With who?
So why don't we
But hang on,
negotiate?
With who?
first?
Here because I'm in strong opposition to the bombing of Syria. I think Hilary Benn needs to learn from his mistakes. He voted for us to bomb Iraq, for us to bomb Libya, and time has shown, history has shown that that's not been the right approach. It's actually led to further radicalisation, and we're here to show that Hilary Benn needs to learn from that, and we should not be bombing Syria. I think looking for a peaceful resolution on the ground through political process is the only way. There's already 11 or 12 countries bombing Syria. Adding more bombs to that is not offering any kind of solution. I think the idea of bombing, there's no end game. There's no end game being offered. I think a lot of what has been said is about these brimstone missiles, and that's just completely fallacious. The idea that brimstone are going to give us some kind of intelligence that allows us to not bomb civilians is absurd. I think in the past, again, with Iraq and Afghanistan, we were told that we had these super precise missiles that wouldn't injure civilians, and that's not been the case. So yeah, it's a slippery slope, and I would not at all be surprised if this spirals and lots and lots of innocent civilians are hurt as they were in Iraq and Afghanistan. I would not be surprised if the media don't report on that initially, but I think history will show that this is not the right approach. No, I don't think it is to keep Britain safe, and I think it will actually put us in more danger because of radicalisation. I think Hilary Benn and the others that have voted for this intervention perhaps want to do something that's going to make the public feel good, feel like something's being done. But if bombing innocent civilians is going to make people feel better, then I think we really need to look at that.
And I came here to protest for Syria. Muslim does not accept terrorism. ISIS, that's got nothing to do with us. We just want to free Syria.